Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Local Hour. We are recapping the EKU football season and handing out the annual Sports Stove Awards on today's show. And great guests, John Stone and Cam Jr. are going to join the show. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Local Hour.
McKinney looks, steps into pocket, throws, open receiver, touchdown! Colonels, we're not done yet!
Our identity is we're going to press for 40 minutes, we're going to play up-tempo, we're going to play with unbelievable passion, and then our brand is the most exciting 40 minutes in sports.
Welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Local Hour presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. It is time to get your stocking stuffers ordered, and there's no better place to get them at than righteousfelon.com. And we're going to give you a discount code. Use the code STOVE15, STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your order. You can get stocking stuffers for everyone in your house. Those with spicy taste buds, well, they got that. Those with, a little bit more tame taste buds, they got that also. But find your new favorite flavor at righteousfelon.com. Use the code STOVE15 at checkout for 15% off your purchase. I'm Vince Stover, joined as I am every Monday by the one and only Captain Rhino, Ryan Jackson. How you doing, man?
No, I'm doing all right today. Today was another good day.
You're back in Kentucky, I see.
Mm-hmm.
So your mom let you come home or come back.
Yeah, I'll be back soon now. But
Yeah, it's almost Christmas time, man. Exams and everything going on and all that good stuff. So plenty of things to go. I'm excited about this episode. I like this, and this is the first time that I've got someone here with me for it too, which is awesome. We're going to recap the whole season. After we're done doing that, we'll let our guests go, and then we're going to go through the Sports Stove Awards. Now, I did not include Ryan on these as far as voting for them because I didn't want his teammates or coaches to be mad at him. So, but I'll let Ryan react to them and give us some thoughts. Maybe give us some honorable mention guys that I didn't put in there and things like that as well. But before we get to our guests, a couple quick updates of things going on in the EKU football world. First of all, transfer portal is alive and active. Currently, 6 players have announced that they have entered the transfer portal. There will be more. I don't think a ton more, but there will be more added to that list at some point. But according to Twitter or X and these people's personal accounts, Jaden Smith, Reese Atkins, Keandre McGlure, Jaden Boss, Jariah Hightower, and Rodney White all in the transfer portal and looking for opportunities there. We talked about Reese and Jariah already. None of these guys, in my opinion, at least, are surprises in the sense it's guys that are looking for more playing opportunities and things like that. Keandre McGlure, we've talked about him on the show before. I'm a huge Keandre fan. I think his talent is phenomenal. I love what he does out of the backfield, especially with catching the ball. And he's a good runner, too. I don't mean to diminish that at all. So hate to see him go. I won't ask you to say anything. I don't know what you know. His brother is not on the roster on the website, so I'm assuming his brother's going to enter as well. But that's pure speculation. I don't know anything about that. Jaden Smith, man, I was so happy to have him back this year. After the success that Jaden Higgins had last year as well, and with the graduation of Parker McKinney, I wasn't surprised to see Jaden go. I hate it, but I wasn't surprised to see him go. I'm hoping he gets an opportunity like Higgins did last year too. But Jaden, we've talked a lot about him. We had him on the show this year. He has that personality, the great character. Seemed to be a great locker room guy as well. And I know that's going to be a tough loss, not just on the field, but also in the locker room.
Yeah, losing Jado as a teammate will definitely take a toll on the team. You lose Mr. Consistency, Mr. Work on our team. He definitely led the pack when it came to stuff like that. And you also lose a great guy, a great character guy in the locker room. But wherever he goes, he'll be a superstar and he'll shine. That's just the type of kid he is. And he'll outwork and he'll be ready to go wherever he goes. And I'm excited for him.
Yeah, we're 100% Jado fans on this podcast and wish him all the best. Jaden, he had some injury issues early in the year. Jaden Bost had some injury issues early in the year. And I think just where he lies on the depth chart I think he's looking for that opportunity. Again, that's just my opinion, speculation. He didn't say that. And then, of course, another guy on the D line and Rodney White moving on as well. That being said, there have been no official announcements for anybody who has signed yet out of the transfer portal, but I did some deep research. And I will say this, the guys that are being offered right now and the guys who are being speculated to come in are going to be massive additions, as has been the past several years. We've seen different guys come through. The O linemen that are being offered and the O linemen that are being rumored to be coming to EKU, there's going to be some pretty big deals, in my opinion, at least. And then the two positions I expect the most transfer portal additions to is O line and defensive backs. And the guys that are being offered, because that is public knowledge, it'd be great. It'd be great if we land some of these guys. Be a help, no doubt. Plus, we got the guys that are still on the team and the guys that are, coming up that have been brought in through high school and last year and all those kinds of things too. So as much as we hate to see guys leave, I think we're getting used to it now. That's the way it works. And new guys will be in next year, as well as the returning guys. And so we'll get to see those guys and cheer them on as well. So good luck to the guys that are looking for other opportunities, and looking forward to seeing announcements when guys sign and come in. Here's the one name I'll give you. Offensive lineman transferring out of Kentucky, Deion Walker. He has been the most rumored to be coming to EKU. Again, it's pure rumor, no doubt. But at the same time, it seems to be people who know what they're talking about. So it'd be a fun addition. He's a big kid. He plays tackle, big kid, and obviously 2 tackles just graduated. So so there's a need, no doubt, to help at least with depth, if nothing else. So there is that. All right. So now we're going to get into our recap of the season, and we're going to bring in some guests to help us out today with this. First coming up is the offensive lineman center. The one and only John Stone joins the program. And John, Ryan has suggested we have you on for a while now. We finally got it done. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man, we're glad to have you. And our other guest, I believe he's here. Let's bring him up to the thing. A beautiful picture. There he is. The one and only Cam Jr. is here also. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How y'all doing?
Doing good. Doing good. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run through the season. We're going to do some just kind of general stuff first. And I want to run through kind of each game, but we got to keep it moving. So, but I'm sure there's some stories, whether it be a plane ride, a bus ride, during the game, after the game, before the game, something crazy going on in the locker room that you guys can fill us in on. But I want to start with this, and we'll start with John. John, the most exciting or fun game that you had this season?
Definitely UK. I'm from Kentucky, so I remember running out on the field and looking around. It was so surreal. Like, there's game, like you get pumped up for every game, but then as soon as I was on the sideline, I was ready to go. I didn't care who was in front of me. I was like, all right, this is SEC football, home state. It was, and we played pretty well as a team in the beginning, so it was definitely an exciting one.
Awesome. Cam, most exciting or fun game this season?
Exciting game for me was probably Cincinnati. Transferring from Cincinnati was a big thing for me. So getting to play in the first game of the season was kind of a stretch. It kind of had my adrenaline pumping 24/7.
I love it. All right, now here's the negative, right? Most disappointing game, the one that left you the most heartbroken of the season. Cam, we'll start with you this time. Most heartbreaking game.
I'm definitely gonna say Central Arkansas. Last play of the game, it kind of hurt me. I was in that play. Obviously I felt like he wasn't in, but they have enough evidence to overturn it, and obviously that put a heartbreak in our hearts right there for sure.
John?
Austin P. I don't know. Me or EKU and Austin P. We just got it's a rivalry, and anytime we play them, it's always something more than what it is. So going to overtime and not getting it done, and I don't know the exact stat, but going into overtime we usually don't lose. So
right.
I'm just talking. We were like, as soon as it went into overtime, we're like, all right, we got this. So not coming up on the right side of the wind calm. Definitely, that was a disappointment.
Yeah. Ryan, most exciting and fun game and most disappointing game?
One of the more exciting games we had was probably SEMO at home. That one was a really exciting one because we got to put on a show in front of the fans, and it came down to the wire. It was just a good game back and forth. Most disappointing, probably the Gardner-Webb game. Losing it on just big plays and not being able to finish that one. That was probably one of the more disappointing moments during the season.
That was painful, no doubt. All right, let's start at the top. Cincinnati. All right. First of all, I want to say shout out to Cincinnati because their press box was phenomenal. It was gorgeous. It was massive, and they had an all-you-can-eat barbecue buffet throughout the entire game. So that was by far an amazing trip for me. Being able to stuff my face while watching that game was awesome, and trying to get maybe some culinary updates in the press box at EKU for future games. But Cincinnati, obviously, the score wasn't what you guys wanted it to be. And Cam, we'll start with you on this one, man. Going back and playing, you talked about it already briefly, but I don't know, what was it like coming in as a visitor in that place?
I felt the energy. I knew a lot of fans that were calling my name, booing me. So they were all friends at the end of the day. But it was a fun experience. But at the same time, felt like it was kind of a not upstate, but upset to the start of the season because I felt like we could have done better. As a team, as a whole. But we after that game, I felt like we faced adversity and we moved on, changed the scheme up a little bit, and I feel like if we had the same scheme going into the game, I feel like it would be a whole different game for us.
Yeah, when I saw it and again, I didn't play football, so my eyes are purely from a spectator position, but it just seemed like it wasn't that the score was 66-13, but it didn't seem like it was that big of a difference between the two teams. It was big plays. Cincinnati hit some big plays, and that was pretty much the difference, in my opinion, at the very least. John, going up against what's now a Big 12 team. We went up against the SEC team in week 2, but week 1, you guys are going up a Big 12 team. Lining up across those guys, was there a difference between the Cincinnati and Kentucky guys versus the Western Carolinas and the North Alabamas and the Tarleton States and those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a big difference, but I don't think it's not about the starters on the FCS teams. It's about the depth that those teams have. So I think especially in the UK game, it's comparable to Cincinnati, but their second line that comes in fresh is just as good as most of the teams we play. So there definitely is a difference, but I don't think they were, giants of no means. But the depth that they have at D-line at that level, just to stay up with and in condition with, is definitely, I think, probably the difference.
Now, of course, you got to practice against Ryan Jackson every day, so for you, it was no big thing, right? I mean, having to handle a rhino every day, and then seeing Cincinnati, Kentucky, no big thing.
No, I was about to say.
All right, let's go to Kentucky. Or first, any stories from the Cincinnati game that you think the listeners would like? Anything crazy happen or wild, funny, anything like that?
It was just hot. It was really hot that day.
Really hot. Man, everybody was about to go out there in some tights, and everybody's it was beaming hot out there for that game.
Now, Cam, was that abnormally hot for there, or was that normal from what you'd experienced?
I think that was like a normal experience. Like I was trying to tell the team, going to Cincinnati, it's like the stadium's built into the ground, so it was like basically the sun was baking in a bowl. So it was like all the heat was just trapped in one little area, and it definitely made it hard for you to breathe. So I think that was the norm for them. Like I wouldn't say it's the hottest day, but it was more like the norm.
Yeah, and there's a lot of hot air in that stadium too. All right, Kentucky was game number 2. Of course, a big deal for people who live here in the area. A fun opportunity, and not only a fun opportunity, you guys controlled the first half and really take away the end of the first half, you might win that game. I don't mean that to be too negative, so I apologize if it came across that way. But you guys were in that game the entire way, which is pretty cool. So, John, you said at home, home state, you get an opportunity to play. Now, I grew up in Tennessee, so for me, Kentucky football is not something that I ever idolized in any way, shape, or form. But that being said, I know it's a big deal for in-state guys to play. And what's the difference between SEC ball versus what you saw at Cincinnati specifically?
I think really, they both had pretty big D lines, but I mean, Kentucky's D line, you can just look at the list. I mean, they had some big guys up there. So I think it was just a little bit more size and then a little bit more depth, but no discredit from Cincinnati. They had some pretty good guys too, but definitely size. I mean, I remember I was ready to go and I get down on top of the ball and I forget the guy's name, the D lineman, but he's 6'6", 340 pounds. I was like, go.
It's a big boy. Now, had you guys done anything with I know that obviously the coaching staff gets along pretty well with Coach Wells being connected there. And now you had Conrad and oh no, I forgot the other guy's name. Quarterback coach Maxwell as well. Had you guys ever done anything off-season practices or anything like that with those guys?
No, we've practiced at their facility before, but
okay. All right, so Cam, you and Ryan on the defensive side of the ball had a really good outing at Kentucky and looked really, really solid in that game. What were you seeing from your side of the ball against the team that had huge expectations this year in the SEC, and you guys ran with them the whole time?
I felt like obviously it was a great game. It was a good rivalry between us both being Kentucky teams. I felt like the energy towards that team, I felt like a lot of people had animosity, which they came in the game with it, and they played very well with it, especially on the defensive side. When I got in the game, my first play was like a targeting, so I was kind of scared. But they overturned it, and obviously I got to see how the receivers and the run game was, and I felt it was like a match for like our offense. We're definitely just playing our offense, and we just had to beat and just outplay them, obviously. And at the end, I felt like we let little things overturn the game, and that's how it affected us at the end. So
I forgot about the targeting call. That's right. And now I was listening to it on the radio, and so I didn't get a chance to see it in person. But me and Ryan talked about it that week, and that's we were very happy they overturned it. The guys on the radio, Greg Stoudemire, they were like, "No, that's clearly a targeting. Yeah, he's gone." They overturned it. Never mind. Just kidding. But Ryan, you had 4 tackles in that game, including a half a tackle for a loss in that game too. And again, you're from the Nashville area, but still, the opportunity to play at a SEC school is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, playing at that big stage, like Cam said, the energy was just different, especially amongst our entire defense. You could see all of us flying around, having a good time, and the offense came and brought it too. Because I don't know when y'all scored, John, but it was one of their couple first
one after the punt. Yeah,
the first drive. It was just different, and you couldn't tell any of us that we couldn't hang with them or we couldn't play with them that whole game. Now, when Cam tried to decapitate the kid, I don't know what he was doing, but luckily that got overturned. But it was a great game, and it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, the early was, I guess, ruled an interception. I think it was a sack, fumble / interception thing that happened there, and then
you're talking about Frank Lee's tip pass.
Yeah. So they had that going on. You had a lot of different stuff happening as well, but and you guys really contained Ray Davis, which you look at what he ended up doing all season long at running back as a huge feat for sure. Game 3 was at home, first home game of the season, Western Carolina, a 3-point loss in that game. This was one that coming off that Kentucky game, obviously everybody was buzzing. They thought this is going to be, we're not going to lose to anybody at that point. Western Carolina, nothing was lost as far as the opportunities for the season or anything like that. And it came right down to it as well in that game. So, John, Western Carolina, what do you remember from it, and what stands out?
It feels like so long ago, but their defensive line, they were good, kind of like a chippier kind of team. I remember it was raining a lot too, so we had to run a lot more of the ball than I think we game planned, but it just didn't came down to the end where, we didn't score enough that we needed to, and there's a long kick and we didn't make it to go into overtime. So, that's about all I remember, but they were a really good team. And I think that in the locker room, we talked about, we knew they were going to be good. They had that new coaching change. We played them 2 years ago, and they definitely had a big turnover from 2020. So we knew they were coached well, and they had talent. So, yeah.
Cam, what do you remember about the offense of Western Carolina?
Obviously remember they had two backs. They were both little, but they had like a super burst. All we had to do was stop the run, and I felt like we did a pretty good job stopping the run. But then they obviously had some explosive plays that led to them winning the game. And I remember after the game, that's when Coach Wells came in the locker room and he said what he had to say, talking about finishing. And I guess that hit a hole in everybody's hearts right there. That finishing was going to be a big part of the rest of our season. So once he said finish, I felt like we was obligated to do that, especially in practice. And then coming game time, we made it a job to finish more games. But
yeah, man, Western Carolina scored with 25 seconds left after not too long of a drive, I guess, minute and a half drive. And then you guys marched right back down into field goal position. But again, rainy, windy. It was not an ideal night for a kicker to be kicking. And Pat gave it everything he had, but didn't go through. Ryan, any thoughts on Western Carolina?
Yeah, terrible, stormy game. I remember when we came out there at the start, it wasn't all that rainy and had a big crowd. It was a huge game. And then we come out from the locker room and it's storming. Like, people are running to the car, people are running to the top of the bleachers. But overall, the game, it was a fight. It was a fight between two really good teams that really wanted to win and really needed that win to like put a little divide on us, because I don't know the next time we play those guys, but I hope it's soon. But no, that was a great game. It was great to watch our offense work, because I feel like that was one of the first games where they really got into a groove with pushing the ball and scoring. And it's big thanks to John. I think it might have been his first offensive lineman of the game award, but that's when he started stepping it up, and you could tell our offense was going to start getting rolling after that.
Yeah, it was massive crowd, really, really solid crowd. And during the anthem is when the rain started to pour. And you're right, everybody went running, man. Now, I'm in the press box, so I didn't have to worry about it. But and a lot of people stuck around for about the first half, and then they just got so cold, I guess they bailed. But it was a nasty night, no doubt. Then you guys had SEMO, number 16 ranked SEMO. You guys beat them by 3. You kept it close just to keep it entertaining, I believe was the reason why. But that game came down to it as well. You guys outscored them in the fourth quarter, 17-7. Braden Sloan went off for 122 rushing yards and 51 receiving yards. John, blocking for a guy like Braden and Josh, who both had really good years this year. This game seemed to be one of those games where that run game really started to show itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's great having those guys, and they both they're dynamic in their own ways. They're two different types of runners, but SEMO, I remember from the game, we did a lot of study on their fronts and their tendencies and stuff, and there at the end when Sloan was getting his big carries, it's things that we saw and things that we kind of knew that could kind of happen, I guess. So it's always good. It's good when those guys get the attention and get all the rush yards. You know, it feels good for us. I mean, as an old lineman, you love when you get a rushing touchdown, you get a big gain. I mean, so it was fun. And like I said, the fourth quarter, we're on the sideline, and it's like, all right, guys, it's time to, start rolling a little bit. We got to catch up. And, you got Parker and those guys behind you. You make some plays, and you're right.
Like Cam, SEMO went up 17-0 to start the game. And then you guys really started to get into what you wanted to do a little bit more defensively. In this SEMO game, do you remember that 17-0 deficit and the mindset you guys were thinking on the sideline?
Yeah, I remember Coach Wells and Coach Johnson talk about we're gonna have to pick it up on defense. That's all they had to say to the defense to make them fire up and get on the field and stop the run and stop the pass. And I felt like towards the end of the game, once offense started cooking, I felt like that brought a lot of energy to the defense. So like we need to come back. We need to make some changes right now. So once we got on the field, it was a lot of 3 and outs, and then the offense came back on the field and did what they had to do. So I think as a team, we worked together and we made it happen.
And Rhino, you learned the lesson of making sure you have enough sack celebrations in your pocket, because you had 3 celebrations, but you only had 2 ready. You didn't know what to do after the third one, but that was a career high for you, obviously, and you surpassed your career total in sacks in one game here against SEMO as well. How often do you think through that game?
Yeah, that was obviously a great game for me individually, but it was definitely a great overall team win. Cam was right. Coach Wells and Coach Johnson had some great patient words for us after we spotted them 17 points. Then that is really all we needed to kick it back into gear. This is the game where our front really showed up. Our front four, because it wasn't just only me that got a sack. I believe Frank Lee got a couple. We got good pressure on the quarterback all day, and it was where we really started to develop a pass rush for ourselves. And obviously, I got lucky a couple times. I got the one, Frank Lee still says he outstrained me. I don't believe him. And then my individual one, and then Marv just absolutely whiffed, and I got lucky on that one. But it was just a lot of great moments in that game. You could, once again, it's another game. You couldn't tell us we could lose. We were in it till the very end. We were ready to win. And that was just the cardiac kernels at its best.
Indeed. You went on winning the next game as well against North Alabama. Josh Carter had the big game there, 140 yards and a touchdown rushing the ball. We started to see this back and forth between Josh and Braden. One was busting for 100 plus, and the other one was still contributing at the same time. And it seemed like for a couple of weeks there, it was back and forth between these two guys. In this game, though, Cam, you had 4 total tackles in this game. It's where we really started to learn who Cam Jr. was, at least from the fan perspective of things. Do you feel like this was a jumping off point for the rest of your season?
Yes, sir. Like I definitely felt like this was a big start of my season. I got my first start. I'm starting to build my character, build more confidence on the field. So I ain't played like an actual starting game since high school. So coming on the field, I felt like it was definitely going to be a change, and I'm gonna have to keep my spot and play how I'm supposed to play to keep and earn my spot. I felt like we did our job. Terrible, but we got our job done on the turf. I got a little scrapes on the knees, but that builds character. The little scars build character, and after that, I felt like the season went pretty smooth after that.
Yeah, Frank had 2 sacks in this game. Frank and Marv both had the forced fumbles in this game as well. Logan, of course, 15 tackles in this game. So a common theme throughout the season. John, the playing surface, how different does that affect your job snapping the football?
It does a little bit, but I mean, I've done it for, I guess, so many years now. You know what I mean? So you kind of just got to get out there, get a feel for it, and then you're good to go. I mean, a lot of people take a lot of time and think about snapping the ball before they do it, but really it's just kind of like, that's when you mess up, I feel like. So just go out there and, you do it 100,000 times a week. So just just kind of just don't even think about it. Get out there and get a feel for it, and you're ready to roll.
And we talked about this run game, and the consistency of it this year has been what Coach Wells has talked about for the last 2-3 years. And it finally was there this year. Part of that is because the offensive linemen not only played well, but you guys got to play together basically every snap this season. I'm sure there's been a couple snaps that weren't that way, but generally speaking, compared to last year, especially, you guys had 5 guys that played together for a long time. How nice was that to have that consistency throughout the season?
No, I mean it's everything because all 5 got to play as one. And I try to hang my hat on. I'm not the most athletic all the time, but if I can get everybody else to know what we're doing and lay it out, and we're all on the same track, kind of get a little head shake and you're ready to roll. And I think that really benefited a lot.
Let's roll into homecoming. You guys start off the UAC season 2-0. Tarleton State came to town, 41-35, double overtime, another cardiac kernel win. And we're starting to get that confidence level of, hey, if we make it to overtime, Colonel's going to win this game. It's the way that most people saw it. Braden had 120 yards again in this game as well. I'm looking real quick to see. Parker had 104 rushing yards in this game also to go with his 190 passing yards. And 2 sacks in this game, John. Sacks is not something you guys gave up a lot of this year. And when you did, it was typically, well, it's going to sound mean, on Parker in some ways, where he could have thrown it away or, whatever it may be. And Parker says this. I'm not accusing Parker of this. That being said, you guys get this win on offense, and you see, between Parker and Braden, especially Josh had 70 yards, 296 yards total running in this game. Did you feel like you guys could control what was going on in the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I definitely did. There's the thing when you play Texas teams, usually they're pretty good in the FCS level. So we had a lot of preparation, and again, they had a lot of different fronts than most teams we played. So kind of dialing it in, and then it came down to some of those situations. I thought at Parker's yards, Texas teams too, they play a lot of man. I feel like, especially the ones we play, especially like on defense. So him extended plays on his leg zone. It's in man coverage, and there's nobody there to really catch him because he is deceivingly fast. You look at him, you don't think he can run. But, yeah, we had a pretty good game plan, and, a lot of guys, contributed in their own way. I think it's just a story of our backfield right now. That they all have their own little things they do, and we trust Parker. And I know you said he even said it. He holds the ball long sometimes, but, we never think that. Whatever he's doing, we're like, all right, you just let us know if you're going to run and throw it or run and get down the field so we don't go past the line. That's kind of the only thing.
Yeah. Cam, you had 5 tackles compared to Ryan's measly 2 in this game. And that being said, the run game got going for Tarleton State. They had 333 yards rushing. It felt like maybe this game we started to see a trend in trying to fix some things on the back end of the defense. And maybe that opened some things up for the run game in this game. Do you remember much about Tarleton State and the talent that they had between Kayvon Britton and Darrell Kelly?
Yeah, I definitely remember the talent. They definitely had a lot of talent. I felt like when we got a hang of stopping the run, that's when they went to passing, and that's when they put nickel in. I get heartbroken when they put nickel in because they take me out because they want to put a extra corner in there. But I definitely believe that their run game was something serious, more than what we faced in the entire season. And they had a lot of runs on the outside, and that's for the Sam and the Jack to make. And there was times we didn't make those plays, and they outran us on the outside. And once we got a hang of it, we stopped it, and then we forced them to pass the ball. That's when they went 10 personnel that I remember, and that's when overtime came along, and nickel was in the whole game. So I felt that nickel handled, their jobs, and our secondary did what they had to do to stop that pass game right there.
Ryan, do you remember taking this game off, or
This was the start of the gigantic offensive lineman trend that we were fixing to go down. All of those guys are 6 foot plus, 300 plus easily. And they wanted to run the ball for sure. They definitely got after us a little bit. But we did a good job of settling everything down and finishing the game. And I think that's what we did best for that game, because obviously we were dismal on defense for a little bit. Our offense luckily picked us up like they usually do. But yeah, that was just a game where we had to get through and we had to finish. That's a tough team, and we're gonna play them again. So.
Gardner Webb was next, a heartbreaking loss. You guys got up early on them, 7-0, but then they started running. They got it up to 21-7 into the second quarter. But you guys kept it close the rest of the way out. Braden scored with 2:12 left in the game to make it a 3-point game. Unable to get the win. Jalen Burbage had a big game this one, 90 yards receiving. We started to see Jalen start to really show himself out in this season. 6 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Ryan, I'll give you Gardner Webb one, as you mentioned it. That was tough, right? I mean, because you guys went into it with we got to get them from last year.
All right, that was definitely not a game that was just circled. It was definitely a get back game, a game we wanted really bad, and a game that's sad to lose that way. It was just big play after big play that got us. It was a good little tug of war game to where we were really in there, and they were in there against us. That one's just hard to keep bringing up, because you lose in such a sad way when you really played your hearts out. And I think that's one thing our team did. We played our absolute hearts out, and for it to end like that was definitely disappointing.
Cam, you had the sack and the forced fumble as well in this one. Ryan did show up for this game. He had 4 tackles and a tackle for loss. Logan had 21 tackles in this game. So Cam, we look at your stats, go 3 tackles, 4 tackles, 5 tackles, sacks, whatever. And then you look up then there's Logan Blake with 21 daggone tackles. What's it like playing with Logan Blake back there?
Like I said, I feel like it's definitely experience playing with him. Me. I love playing with him. He controls the defense. He controls what I do, and he tells me when I sometimes forget some plays. He tells me what to do, and I'm like, dang, how do you know the defense so well? But playing with him was an honor, really, because coming from an NAIA school, no one really believed that he was going to do what he did, and he definitely proved it after the Cincinnati game. Then it was the UK game, and everybody was like, this boy about to go crazy. I always thought he was like Wolverine to me. So he definitely is in his name. So, but I'm glad he's gone, so I can get my tackles back up. Realistically.
Now, John Parker threw 3 interceptions in this game. If I remember right, there was one that was questionable, should have been pass interference, didn't get called. And Parker talked about the interceptions throughout the year and different things like that. I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Was there ever a moment where you started to doubt what Parker could do?
No. I mean, yeah, he's the best quarterback, like, I think, in FCS. He makes a lot of plays, and things like that. It didn't go our way, and there's never a doubt. I mean, he's a leader. It's not just like a stat like that people look at and start to question, like the fans and stuff. But like, we know what's in the locker room. We know what he brings to the table. I mean, the game, it wasn't him. It wasn't, we watched it back, and maybe one of those was a timing error on a receiver, or maybe we gave up a pressure in the middle. I mean, I definitely remember there was a protection, and it might have been me that I called wrong, or something happened, and there's a guy in his face and he throws it. I mean, there's a lot of factors, and a lot of people don't think about that when they see that number. So it's not him. It's a good selection of the offense, and it starts with me. So I think a lot of people got to see that more than just that one stat column. So
agreed. Utah Tech, you guys got the win. I don't want to talk so much about the game, but about just the trip as a whole. I know me and Ryan talked about it when it happened, but John, you ever been to Utah before?
No, I've never been out west before.
Okay, what's the furthest west you'd been before that game? Probably Texas last year.
UT, or I guess, yeah, if you want to count, yeah, I guess our Arkansas probably.
Okay.
Flew there.
how would you describe Utah?
It's just I'm from the mountains in like Kentucky, so but it's like way different. When I got off the plane, I said it's mountains, but it's not what I'm used to. I guess it's a lot of flat, a lot of nothing, but no green. That was the weird part. I guess there was no green anywhere.
Cam, you ever been out to Utah before?
Yeah, I had a visit with the University of Utah, and when I was like, I think in my junior year of high school, and it was definitely a drive. It was definitely a drive because we got off the plane and we drove all the way to the university. It was about 3 hours away, so I was like, "This is crazy," but it was definitely an experience. But the second time going there, it definitely got cold later on. So
Late night in Utah, you guys get on the plane and come back home after that. How were you feeling when you got off the plane back in Kentucky, Cam?
I think we was so ready to go home. Coach Wells definitely said in the locker room, "Let's go ahead and beat them, so we can go get back on the plane." And for a second, we thought the plane wasn't gonna start. I thought we definitely thought we were gonna get stuck there. We was definitely gonna be sad for a couple hours, but the plane got fixed and we got like right back at like 5 a.m. I don't remember getting home to like 6 a.m. So I was definitely tired, but we got the dub. I didn't play much, They was in nickel again, but I don't blame them.
Now, one of my favorite Coach Wells moments from this season was talking about Utah Tech, and he mentioned he said he appreciated them having you guys play at 8 p.m. and he'll remember it next year when they come to you guys. So I'm not sure what time your game will be next year, but I have a feeling Utah Tech will not be getting home at a decent hour when that happens. Austin P was the next game, the overtime loss, and this you already mentioned it once, but the idea was, man, once you guys make it to overtime, and that's going to be it, you guys are going to win. That's the feeling that everyone had. And this was one that was obviously UAC implications, playoff implications. It didn't seal your fate at this point, but it was a game that meant a lot, obviously, to how the outcome of the season would go. So John, we'll start with you. There was really not any scoring until the fourth quarter. It was 10-6 going into the fourth quarter. What are games like that for offensive linemen? What are you guys feeling where it's just like, man, we just can't break through, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open in the fourth quarter?
Well, it's just really frustrating because it's like, your defense is playing the hearts out against that's very good. Like we watch film, we know they scored a lot of points against Tennessee as well, and ETSU, you see that, and they can put up points. Remember last year, they have the ability to score. So, you're sitting there and your defense is playing their hearts out. And I'm telling the boys, like, we got to get something going. Like, we got to play some complementary football. I mean, and, if a lot of things didn't go our way going up to the fourth quarter, but, it's our fourth quarter is like when we start going, we're rolling. When it rains, it pours, and I think that's definitely what happened in the Austin P game. We caught a groove, we caught a thing, and it was all out there, and we got it to overtime. So
this was Parker's best game of the year. Almost 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Jado had 11 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. The run game got only 60 yards total. That's with Parker's negative yards that were in there. He had 3 sacks in that game. But Josh Carter had 44 yards. Braden Sloan had 43 yards. That's on the ground. Braden had a big game through the air as well. But we saw Parker play a great game. Defensively, you guys had them right where you wanted them, especially coming into the fourth quarter. Logan again with 18 tackles in this game. Cam, what was your mindset in that game when you got to overtime, because you guys held them for so long and then you had overtime to go?
I felt like we had the opportunity to make a stop, and we definitely had the opportunity to make a stop. Two big plays, and then coming towards fourth down and having a chance to stop them. And there's times that we just let stuff go, and then times that we make stuff happen. So That was one of the times we just let stuff go, and it was up to our offense after that. See what we could do. But at the end of the day, defense and offense as a whole, we're gonna have failures and we're gonna have some mistakes that we can fix. Especially going on the next season, and that's how I feel about that.
It's a learning game, no doubt. Ryan, thoughts on Austin P?
I don't know, the whole build up for the week, it felt like a rivalry week in college football. Like, you could tell there was tension between us and them, and it was just going to be another big game. And like that's how it shaped up. That it was a great game back and forth. It was a classic cardiac Colonels game where we keep them in the game as long as we can, and then pop off in the fourth. And when it coming down to it, we just felt we knew we could get a stop. We knew we had them. We knew we could box them up, and we knew our offense was rolling. And give up one big play and ball game, and it was just it was hanging heads from there.
Yeah. And then you go into Central Arkansas the next week. You got to fly instead of bus, so that was a good thing. And then, but similar outcome, 3-point loss, 24-27. There were still slim hopes of playoffs at that point, and you still would have needed several things to fall your way. But Central Arkansas pulls off the win. I thought they were one of the better teams this year in the conference. I actually thought they were better than Austin P, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think about Central Arkansas and the talent that they brought in this year? Cam, we'll start with you.
I got you. I think, obviously, I think Central Arkansas, they had a lot of talent. They had a lot of players that can do big things, and some players made plays, and that's how I felt like it came from both teams. Obviously, it was crazy to me. I think their turf is worse than North Alabama, 100%. And playing on that turf is like playing on concrete. But when you made a tackle, you was gonna lose. You was gonna lose your knees. Your skin was gonna come definitely off. But it came down to talent at the end of the game. It came down to who wanted it more. And I felt like our thought process going into the game was we're not letting them play Austin P and fight for a playoff chance to be in the playoffs. I said we're gonna take that chance and we're gonna get our opportunity to be in the playoffs. We just need them to be Austin P. That's our thought process. We're gonna beat them. They beat Austin P. We're here and we're gonna make something happen. And then I remember the sidelines. It was crazy on the sidelines. There was literally fans. Central Arkansas fans literally barking at us, yelling and cussing at us, and as human beings, we're gonna bark back, and it's to the point that we started winning, and then it came to the last play of the game, and it was definitely something you couldn't overturn, and it was very heartbreaking.
What was the mindset with you had the whole clock situation, but you guys still had to finish out the game, right? And at the end of the day, were you guys able to have your minds clear for that final play, or was there still some of that frustration left over from the clock situation?
I believe there was still a little frustration after the clock, but hey, offense scored. We just got to make these big plays, and we made those big plays. And then, it's one more game. We call victory, and then we get the victory. And, our mindset is we got to bat the ball down. He threw it high enough to get the ball tipped up. My man came running, which I wasn't expecting that to happen. And he caught the ball, I tackled him. And I'm thinking okay, he's definitely not past the line. But in my head, I thought we won the game. I thought we had enough evidence to overturn it. And, that clock, after the game, everybody if the clock wasn't messed up, But we definitely still had that one play that could have stopped everything.
John, EB scored a touchdown with 24 seconds left. You spent time with him. How exciting was that? Not just for the team to take the lead, but to have a guy like EB with the one that gets the touchdown.
Yeah, me and EB, we're the same major. We just graduated together this weekend, and we spent a lot of time on the football and then in the classroom. So we go down and I see who scores it. I didn't even know what his celebration was, but somehow I just picked it up on the spot, and I was the first one to say, congratulate him. Like, we knew he was done after this year.
Yeah.
So, being one of the last games, he gets his first touchdown and a crazy drive, no timeouts. I think we had a minute. And, we marched down the field and he gets a strike, and it was an emotional moment, I think, for a lot of people. I'm a big guy and love seeing others, to succeed. And a guy came in with his story, being a walk-on, earning a scholarship, and then him saying, he's done, and he goes out in the second to last game and gets his first touchdown in a huge moment of the game. It was, it was huge emotionally. Everybody was so excited for him. So
Let's get to senior night. Stephen F. Austin. You guys, and from the outside looking in, nothing to play for, but obviously that's not the case on senior night. There's brothers that you're playing for there, John, as well. And so Stephen F. Austin comes in. You guys take care of business 36-24. It doesn't come down to the last second, thankfully. And you get the win. John, let's go with you on this one, man. Senior day, the emotions, everything that's there. What was it like this year?
Yeah, I mean, I was telling the guys, and Ryan and Cam might have heard it, is like, this is the last time this group's going to be together. I mean, we're not playing for playoffs or anything, but like, this is the last time that you're going to see certain people in the locker room, that all of us are going to be together, this team. So, going out there, not the week, I just told people, I said, enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, some people get distracted, and football's a lot mentally, physically, and all that. But it's like, we got all these periods throughout the week of hitting each other, but like, it's the last one you're going to have with certain guys. So you just got to take it in and enjoy it. And going out there, and, during the week, Vinny got hurt, and we had to bring in a younger guy and get him all ready. And I mean, we had to get ready and send Joe out the right way, Josiah. So, I mean, it was an emotional week, especially at the end, but we got the win for those guys. And, it's the last time I'll play with Parker probably. So after the game, it was crazy. Josiah and, some of those other guys, but it was definitely nice to send them out on a win. And
Ryan, you had a good game, 4 tackles, tackle and a half for loss as well thrown in there too. And I know we've talked a lot throughout this year about the guys in the locker room, and especially those seniors come that last day. There wasn't a ton of seniors this year, but obviously the ones that were there, most of them you've been with for quite some time. Your kind of final thoughts on senior night and how everything went there.
I think senior night was perfect. It all shaped up how it should have. The intro was great. The video we had was great. The meals, it all lined up perfect. All leading up to the game, you could tell the energy. Everybody was locked in. We had one goal in mind, and that was to win. And we went out there and did it. And it was good to send those guys out on a positive note on what they should have been sent out throughout the whole season. Those guys were our leaders, our friends, our family. Those guys were guys we looked up to when me and John first got here, and that were still our friends, and they grew up and changed with us, and they got to see this program really grow. And I hope we get to keep passing the torch along, because it's our turn now, it's sad that those will probably be some of the last times we get to play with those guys, but I love and respect them, and I'm happy that what they did for us, and happy they're helping us move this program along in a positive way.
Yeah, and end it on a win is obviously a great way to end the season. No matter what else happens in the season, your last memory is walking off the field with the win, and that helps. I promise. Down the road, that helps a lot. Guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on. Cam, I want to start with you. I mean, it's off season now. So what's the regimen? How long do you try to take a break before you get back to the heavy work?
I've been back to the heavy work. I talked to Coach Brown and Coach Greg. Getting back to working out right now, and I've been back working out since last week. I started Monday. He has me on a 120 day workout. I'm trying to get my body prepared for this upcoming season. Also talked to Coach Brown and Coach Greg about the leadership that's going to be coming a hold of the next season and upcoming season for sure. We preached finish. We preached finish basically almost the whole entire season, and I feel like when it comes to weight room, comes to conditioning, and comes to when OTAs come up and practicing and fall camp and spring ball, it's gonna be all about finishing with like whatever we do. So basically, that's how I feel about it.
What's the one thing? I know there's probably multiple things you're trying to improve on. What's the one main focus of improvement for you in this offseason?
You know, for me, like I said, finishing for me. I'm always at the ball and I'm always there. And sometimes I miss the tackle, and sometimes I miss this interception I can get easily, and then I just don't finish it. And now I'm gonna preach to myself, with whatever I do, just finish and get to where I gotta do, make that tackle, get that interception, set that edge, and just keep finishing.
John, man, big year, graduation. That's always a good time. So what's next on the agenda for you?
Yeah, I've started working out now, but I'm not going so heavy as I need to. I still got some lingering, I gotta still recover a little bit more. But yeah, I'm back at home, and I got a YMCA a few minutes away, and I'm gonna get like a little job during the winter. So just kind of chillax a little bit. Have mom make me some food, work out, stretch, and get ready for the spring. So it won't be too bad.
What's the educational next thing for you? You going masters?
Yeah, I'll do a MBA. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's a big task, man. Once I got done with my 4 years, I said I'm out. Nothing else for me as well. Thanks to Steve Hotchkiss for watching. Again, he's a listener of the program, and we appreciate you guys and all the heart that you guys played with this year as well. John and Cam, we appreciate you guys taking time for us. And I know we kept you a long time, but we really do appreciate you taking time for us, and looking forward to what's ahead for you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, John Stone and Cam Jr. And we're going to wrap up the show with some postseason awards, Ryan. You have no idea what's coming. I didn't give you any heads up on this because I wanted your full reaction to it. And so we're going to go through last year. I'm trying to think if I did it 2 years ago. I don't remember if I did or not. But I have the Sports Stove Awards. They're specifically for football, trying to give some recognition to some guys. So I've got Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player, and then Coach of the Year for the program. So we'll start with Offensive Player of the Year. And I'll tell you what I've got. I've got three candidates here, and here's where they were. Parker, you got to put Parker in. He's the quarterback. 265 completions, 3,033 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks. He ran the ball 66 times for 327 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jado Smith as well, 73 catches, led the team, 781 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then Braden Sloan, 784 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. And then he added 41 catches, 474 yards, and 3 touchdowns through the air. And so my Offensive Player of the Year is Braden Sloan. I love what he did this year. And again, he does it in both ways, running the ball and catching the ball. And I mean, you can always look at the quarterback, and Parker's always great. And Jado did some really good things this year, and there were other guys too. Maybe we should talk to John more about that, but I don't know how to grade offensive linemen. The offensive linemen looked great. I mean, they played really, really well this year, and we'll talk about them when we get to the Coach of the Year candidates. But so for me, it was Braden Sloan. Did I leave anybody off the nomination list that we definitely should have had on there?
Other than the offensive line, no, I think those are a great top three. And I agree with the Braden pick, because Braden, he really showed how dynamic he was this year. He really showed that even if he doesn't get the running game popping, he can always catch the ball. And if he can get them both working, he's really dangerous. So
yeah,
I agree with Braden Sloan.
And you throw on top of that the return game where they got to the point where they wouldn't kick to him. So you guys put in someone different to go back there so you could get some kickoff returns as well. So that's exciting. All right. Defensive Player of the Year, 3 nominations. Of course, Ryan Jackson has to be on here. 36 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 3 pass breakups, and 1 fumble recovery on the season. By far your statistically best year that you've had. I've got Frank Lee on here also, 31 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. He led the team in that area. 1 interception, 2 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble as well. But I think the obvious choice here is Logan Blake. 132 tackles. The next closest person was 80 tackles. And so he led the team by far in tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 picks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. I mean, the addition of Logan, it was a big addition for you guys this year.
Yeah, Logan, it was like Cam said, it's an honor to play with him. He's such a smart guy and a beast on the field. And he's greedy. That's the people that people don't know about him. He's greedy. He wants all the tackles. Yeah. And he wants his teammates to make tackles too. But he's a greedy guy, and he just keeps stacking them up and stacking them up. He does a great job of knowing our defense, knowing our calls, knowing what an offense is giving him and how an offense is trying to stop him, because it's hard to game plan for a guy who's in the spots you think you can catch him in, or who's already game planned for the spots that you think you're going to catch him in. And it was just an honor to play with Logan.
Nick was another guy that I was going to put on this list. I just did 3 nominees, so I didn't include Nick in that. He would have been an option, of course, as well. Anybody else that needs to be mentioned in that top tier group of guys?
Towards the end of the season, Darian Baker was a good would have been a good honorable mention. He definitely elevated his game this year and proved to a lot of people that he can play. He's not just a backup anymore. He can be a bona fide starter and really put up numbers.
Yeah. All right, most improved player. This was an interesting one. So I had to look a lot on this one, and I had to look at a lot of different things. All right, so one guy we talked about a lot this season was Jeremiah Bailey. He took advantage of his opportunities, 13 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, forced fumble, fumble recovery, a touchdown to go with it. Obviously, Jeremiah Bailey, good season for him, a lot of improvement from what, of course, he got on the field, so that helped a lot too, but a lot of improvement. I got Josh Carter on this list too, 728 rushing yards, which was only 60 behind Braden. He had 4 touchdowns, 21 catches, 147 yards as well. We saw what he could be towards the end of last season, and then this year we kind of saw the whole what he is before it's all said and done. But the winner of my most improved award goes to a specialist, Jeremy Edwards, the punter. Jeremy, he had 1,805 yards, so 1,805 yards. 16 of his punts were inside the 20, 4 for touchbacks. His average went up 5 yards from the previous season. So he averaged 41.8 yards per punt. From last year, he was 36.8 yards per punt. I felt like the improvement that we saw in Jeremy this year needed to be acknowledged. And as much as I think, I'm sure, and you might, this is what category I thought you might have more people that I didn't have on my list. So who did I leave off? Who's most improved this year?
Those are all 3 great ones, and Jeremy is definitely raised his stock this season. Most improved. Oh, I forgot to mention Frankie on the defensive player.
Oh yeah, Frankie West. Yeah,
West too. No, because Josh was one of mine. I think you pretty much nailed it.
Thank you.
Mo Edwards coming back towards the end of the season was he. I don't know what his numbers were last year, but I'm sure they're much improved.
Yeah.
If I could pick an offensive lineman, I would say Vincent Munlin. He's made probably the biggest leap. He went from a young kid on that last year's offensive line to an established player and a real big deal in the middle. And John Stone is another one. I'll say he went from backing up, playing guard and center a little bit to really being that full-on starter and leading an offensive line.
Yeah.
But if I would have to pick Jeremy. Jeremy Edwards is definitely one of the most improved players on this team, and he really worked for it. He had a lot of critics after last year, and he had a lot of people doubting him after last year, and he really wanted to prove them wrong.
He did his thing this year, man. So congrats to Jeremy, Logan, and Braden so far taking home Sports Stove Awards. All right, Coach of the Year. This is one of my fun ones, and I'm excited to have you on the show for this one because I mean, I'm still going to pick the winner because you'd be biased, but nonetheless, we got to talk about the line, O line and D line. These were both candidates this year. Jeremy Hawkins on the D line. You guys lost some veteran players, guys with experience from outside the program and inside the program, all that kind of stuff. But the D line really stepped up and played solid football this year, both in the run game and in the pass defense as well. And obviously, there's big things in down the line for Hawk, and we're excited to see. Hopefully, he's still here and sticking around a little bit longer here. But we know things are down the line for him. We know they're coming for him. And I just thought the D line played really well this year. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show, but you know best of all how the D line did this year and the impact that Coach Hawkins had.
Yeah, I would agree with Coach Hawkins. A lot of people this year doubted our defensive line, said that was probably going to be the one area that we were going to struggle with, or the one area that there's whatever. I feel like we came out there to prove something, and not only that we could compete, but we're just as good. We're actually might be a little bit better than some of our previous lines. I know this was the most fun I've had, and I played with a lot of talented people, and I'm not no bashing them, but this was the most team oriented D line we've had, and we had chemistry going on.
I felt like coming into the season, I had the biggest question marks about the D line. I was really worried about the DBs, just because of the amount of change and what was there. But I had the biggest question about the D line to see who was going to step up, how they were going to step up. Because again, when you lose a guy who's playing on Sundays right now, that's a big deal. And you guys stepped up. You really had a solid 6 guys. And I know there's more than that in the room that played through the rotations. And you had the pass rushers, and you had the run stoppers, and you had the fill in the middle, and you had it all going on this year with a mixture of young guys, veteran guys, new guys. I mean, it's incredible to see what Coach Hawkins did. And how you guys played throughout the year. But that's a testament to both you guys and to Coach Hawkins, of course, as well. But so he's one of the candidates. The other ones, I've got 2 more, but another one is Eric Losey with the O-line. First of all, the consistency, and we talked about it already. They were able to stay relatively healthy, play together for most of the year, and it was by far the best that I've seen the O-line play in my time watching EKU. And we saw that through the run game being consistent. We saw that through Parker staying clean for most of the year too. And you had to practice against those guys. So again, you would know as good as anybody. And you talked about John all year and how much you thought John had grown. But you got a guy in Josiah who, from everything that I see, is going to be drafted this year in the NFL. And then you got another guy in Peyton who's a phenomenal ball player and plenty of recognition. I don't know if he's going to get his name called. I think he's going to get an invite at the very least to a team in the NFL. So you had guys on the O-line that played incredible football this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the best thing about our groups is that we've competed since the summer. O-line, D-line, we've always been going at each other, to where I feel like iron sharpened iron in this season. You could really tell that that's one of the biggest increases. Our trenches were different this year. You could tell we were moving people and we were bumping people back. But the offensive line, it's been awesome to see them grow as a group, because it all it took was the offseason to figure out all the pieces, and ever since then they took off. And as soon as John became leader in the helm, you couldn't stop them. They were definitely harder to practice against. Oh my goodness, they started coming off the ball together, and they knew all the strategies. They were a fun group to compete against, and it sucks that their core is going to be gone, but the guys that they got coming back, they can lead them to a whole nother, and especially with Coach Losey. I think that's probably the best thing for the offensive line, that they've had the same coach.
Yeah.
And that they've learned him and he's learned them and their playing styles. And I think they're starting to get a little bit more mean and nasty. And I think that's what we should be looking forward to for the next couple of years.
And obviously Coach Wells, he's invested in the O-line too. It's what he's built his career on, which probably helps some as well. But we can't give Coach Losey the award because Coach Losey is the only position coach that did not come on our show this year.
Right.
It was a timing issue. We were on the O line during camp, and they had meetings going on at all hours of the night. He couldn't come on, but we can't give him the award because he shafted us this year. So thanks for nothing, Coach Losi. No, I'm just kidding. It was a great year for the O line. All right, so here's my coach of the year. Now, again, I know you would vote for Hawkins, so I couldn't let you vote on this. But my coach of the year is actually a tandem, co-special teams coordinators, Derek Day and Chris Franklin. The special team. Now, listen, I want to say this, and I love Coach McKeithen. I'm a huge Coach McKeithen fan. I still follow him on social media. I think he's a phenomenal human being. I think he's a very good coach. The difference, if I can see the difference, then you know it's a difference. The difference in the mentality and the mindset of the special teams units this year stood out. And to me, there was just an obvious upgrade in play this year from the special teams. And I don't know if that's how much the personnel has to do with that, how much the coaching has to do with it. But I will say this, I felt like that was the most improved unit this year. And I felt like they deserve some recognition. And so Coach Day and Coach Franklin and their parts in coaching the special teams, they're getting the Sports Stove Award for Coach of the Year this year. Again, I know you're biased towards Hawk, but tell me about Day and Franklin and the job they did this year.
No, I can actually say I fully agree with your choice. This was the first year I sat in on special teams meeting seriously as a potential like real backup, so I had to pay attention a lot more. And those two brought energy and a fun to special teams that we haven't had in a while. No offense to Coach McKeith, and he did a great, phenomenal job with us. But Coach Day and Coach Franklin definitely brought some juice that was needed. And the guys respected it, and the guys learned, and they came to meetings. They were attentive. They took notes, and they changed the whole way our special teams plays. You can see it in how they run down the field. You can see it in how they hit. Even when we get in our little scuffles now, we're not backing down from anybody. And I think that's the attitude that they both have instilled in each special teams. They take time on each one, and I think that's the best thing about their partnership is that they work together on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you weren't disgusted with any of my picks.
I do have an honorable mention though.
Okay.
Honorable mention that it's a coach that usually never gets talked about, and it's because he does such a phenomenal job for each year. Is Coach Caleb Cox, the receiver? Yeah. You got to think our receiving room completely flipped from last year's room, and they still put up good numbers. And I think that's a testament to how hard Coach Cox works with those guys and to making them better route runners.
That's a great point. Coach Cox and the things that he did this year with this team. Again, there was a ton of depth this year, which means he had a hard job because, yes, you're saying, well, that means there's a lot of good players. Yes, but he's got to try to figure out a lot of things with those guys, put them in the right position to succeed when they're out there on the field as well. And that's a great point, Coach Cox, and a phenomenal job with the receiving group. And he's got his hands full for next year too. So we're excited to see what goes on with that. Awesome. So we're going to post these on social media soon. We'll get those up and recognize those guys and give them a little bit of recognition at the very least from our program. And excited about that, man. The transfer portal is really starting to turn right now. So we're going to learn more information over the next couple weeks about anybody else leaving and people starting to come in. We'll start seeing that before too long as well, which will be fun. And you know, I know it's going to be hard. I expect for another couple guys that played still to enter, maybe not played a ton, but played some guys that people will at least know, possibly to still enter the portal. But I'm telling you, man, from what I tried to dig as deep as I could, and the guys that are being offered right now, I mean, there's some big dudes on the O line. I know there's been a heavy pouring of O line things, which I expected, especially with Josiah and Peyton leaving. So you knew they were going to go out and try to add more to the room there. And like I said, DBs too, corners and things like that getting added soon as well. So we'll keep an eye up on that and update that as best as we can, and keep our ears to the ground on things as well. And I want to remind people, I don't ever dig for information from Ryan. We're never going to abuse what we've got with Ryan being here, because I don't want Ryan to ever get in trouble. Now, when he's done at EKU, we'll get all the deep, dirty secrets. But until then, no, I'm kidding. But we've had great conversations throughout the football year and learned a lot, which has been exciting too. And John and Cam coming on was great. We were going to have Mo on as well. He was sick, under the weather, so he could not end up joining us. But we definitely appreciate the guys that were able to come on and join us. And we'll continue with basketball coverage throughout the winter here, and baseball coverage once we get into it. The girls took care of business tonight, girls basketball against Simmons. Another blowout win for them. So that congratulations to them. They get into the tough games now in their schedule. We'll keep an eye on that. The girls playing very well. The guys got a win, or excuse me, a loss against Western Kentucky, but a close game, and their season's about to turn up as well. So we'll keep everybody updated on those things going on as well. What else, Ryan? Anything else?
Other than any of my teammates that watch this, heck of a season. Thank you all for a great season, and let's get right back to it next season.
And what do you say to the players that complain that they don't get on the show? They didn't get on the show this year. All right, so what do they got to do next year to get on the show, Ryan?
You got to prove it in camp, obviously, but you got to start making some plays during the game. We gotta have something to want to bring you on.
That's right.
And you can't just try and beg me. I won't go for it.
No, and you don't have to wait until the fall. Spring practice will kick up. We can get some guys on during the spring. We'll be talking baseball, but we can get some guys on during the spring and have some guys on and see what's going on throughout the spring. Keep up on guys as well on there. So yes, this is our football recap. An absolute blast of a season. Obviously, it didn't all go the way we wanted it to go, but a fun season nevertheless. And it's pretty much time to turn the page now and get on to the next one. And there's a lot of change in the books. I mean, again, you lose Parker, you lose a quarterback that's been here for 10 years or 7 years or however long it is that he's been here. That's a big deal. It's gonna be adjustment, whether it's Cam Hergott, whether it's a transfer quarterback, whether it's someone else who's already on the roster. It's going to be a change nonetheless. So we're excited to see where that one goes as well. A reminder, go visit righteousfelon.com. Get yourself some jerky. Stove 15 is the code for 15% off. We didn't play the commercials today, but a thanks to IPM Pest and Termite and All Around Roofing for their support of the program as well. You can visit myipm.com if you have pest needs in Central Kentucky. All Around Roofing, you find them on Facebook. All Around Roofing KY on Facebook. If you have exterior needs for your home, they'll take care of you there as well. Follow us on social media at Sports Stove on Twitter and Instagram. And do us a favor, if you're watching, hit that like button on the YouTube or the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And the likes and the comments really help the algorithms get us out there more. So if you help us out with that, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks, Ryan. As always, thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with more coverage at the Sports Stove Local Hour. Until then, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.